Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, welcome for the P.F.P podcast presented by Playbook 365. Today's guest is Jeremy Plexico. Jeremy's the president of Prospects Like Baseball, one of the premier tournaments and showcase organizations in the U.S. He's a former All-American left-hand pitcher at Winthrop and played 6 years professionally, starting with the Montreal Expos organization, now the Washington Nationals for you youngsters that don't know who the Expos were. It's probably hat in the history of the game, short of probably the Yankees. One can make an argument there. Jeremy transitioned then into coaching at Young Harris College, at Ball State, UNC Asheville, before joining Prospect Select in 2014. Since then, he's played a pivotal role in growing Prospect Select from just a regional brand into a national powerhouse with over 80 events across 18 different states, including the popular Crossroads Series, High School Fall Baseball League, and a number of the premier events throughout the country. Known for his passion for player development and innovation in youth sports, Jeremy continues to lead Prospect Select with the mission of helping student athletes reach the next level. Wow, that's quite the intro for you there.
That's
Anything
probably
I
that's
missed?
probably the best
Or
intro I've ever had, man. That's awesome. I feel elite.
yeah, so now you got to come up with your pseudo Cooperstown induction speech here. There's a lot of background there. I'm sure a lot of people that played an impact in that. Anybody specific you want to kick off that played a role in helping you get to this point, and somebody that you
Oh,
want to mention?
I've had so many people. I mean, obviously my parents. I mean, that's the initial. Just my parents sacrificing a lot when we were growing up. I mean, I grew up actually. It was funny you said on the intro. Like I was fortunate enough. I went to Chapin High School, so a pretty big high school now in South Carolina. When I was coming through, we were relatively small size. But I got inducted into the Hall of Fame there last year, and that was such an honor. But I remember speaking at that, and I kind of described my childhood as like we felt like we were millionaires. We weren't, but my mom and
Mhm.
dad just did everything they could to like sacrifice and give us such a good life and a good structure to be able to chase our dreams. And my dream's always been baseball. So I'd say them first and foremost. I had some excellent coaches at every level. My coach at Chapin High School, Scott McLeod, he was a big impact on my life. He was just an excellent game coach, one of, if not the best game strategic. Put my nine against your best nine. I'm gonna figure out a way to win it. Just excellent. And then when I was at Winthrop, Coach Joe Hudak, he's a pretty legendary coach. I transferred from South Carolina, which was my dream school out of high school. I'm still a huge South Carolina fan. I always will be. My family played football there, and I grew up just a Gamecock, and like I said, I still am. But I needed to go to Winthrop and get a chance to get on the field. And the coach there, Joe Hudak, he instilled a lot of confidence in me that I needed. I needed somebody to really buy into me and tell me to go out there and work through some struggles. And I was fortunate. I had a really good career at Winthrop and played some pro ball. But those are a couple people, and I've had, like you said, there's so many people I could list off, but those are some that I would say on the short list for sure.
Obviously, being with Prospect Select since 2014, you probably had a number of people come in and out of the organization, some playing huge roles, others playing smaller roles. Who internally has really been your core staff that you've leaned on and guys that have really grown this thing together?
Well, been with Prospect Selects, like you said, since like 2013, 2014. I have worked the entire time with the owner and founder in Braithwaite, and he's really turned into he's like a brother to me. I work close with him. People are amazed at the relationship that we have in like a working environment where everything is just we speak freely and everything's out in the open. We trust each other. There's no hidden agenda. We're just trying to work hard to make Prospect Select better, and neither of us know all the answers. We just really work hard and we kind of just try to make Prospect Select better daily. It's just like no blueprint. We're very organic with what we do at Prospect Select. Of course, we have goals for the company. We have 5-3-5 traditional year growth plans and whatnot that we adhere to. But if we told you that we're going to do X by this date of 2025, it's not always that. A lot of times it's relationship driven and meeting the right people. So really fortunate to work with somebody like that has that thought process. And I'd say Austin Johnson, he's our CFO. He's been with the company. He really started the company with Aaron. Him and Aaron started the company. They were both with Prospect Select. That they kind of those two guys are what led me to join the company. And then another guy in our company, Brando Centrone, who I think you met Brando. But Brando has been with us probably close to a decade now. He started off when he was a high school student, and to see the growth that he's had, it's just been amazing. He's one of the best in the business. Like I'd put him up there now with anybody in the entire country. He's truly a special. I want to say a special kid. He's not. He's not a kid. He's just a special. He's a special guy. But those are 3 or 4 guys that I just really love working with, and I've been fortunate enough to work with all those guys now for a while. I've been fortunate enough to be with each of those guys now for over a decade, so that's been great.
And what was your background? You know, you and Aaron together. You guys teammates. You guys cross paths along the way. How that relationship really formed itself?
Right. We met just out of the blue. A teammate of mine from Winthrop, his name is Todd Leathers, another really, really good baseball guy, very high character. He's got a travel organization up in Jersey called Locked In. The Locked In, speaking of the Expos, they're called the Locked In Expos. They do a great job. Todd does a great job. He called me when I was at Ball State. I was a just young coach, and I needed contacts. He knew I needed a shortstop, and he said, "Hey, I'm gonna put you on the phone with this guy, and he's got a shortstop for you down in South Florida." And it was Aaron, and I got to know Aaron. I kind of asked some questions. Everybody said Aaron's a great guy, and kind of got to know him. The player that he recommended was a really good player. So like all of a sudden he's a credible, nice guy. And I just continued to lean on him as a recruiting networking source while I was coaching in college. And it just kind of built from there. I would go down and recruit his events, and we just kind of gained a rapport. And even as I was transitioning out of college coaching, there was a couple summers where he would help me. I would be putting on team camps. Like at the schools I was working at, and he'd be giving me tips like, "Hey, when you're running tournaments, do this and that, little tricks and scheduling things." And right when I got out of college coaching, I mean, he was my first phone call. I mean, I never even called anybody else. And right away, we've been working together since. So it just kind of happened. It wasn't planned by any means.
Makes sense. Any excuse to get out of Muncie and head to Miami, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's what when I was at Muncie, all the veterans in the area they called it Funcy. So
Yeah.
but no, I had some good times at Ball State. I met some good people there, and of course, I advanced my coaching career and just baseball career. Alex Marconi, who hired me there at Ball State,
Mhm.
great guy, and I am actually the godfather of one of his children. So that right there alone was worth it. But living in Muncie, I do like living in South Florida better, I must say.
A little bit different. And speaking of Florida, I mean, you guys started there, started with a few events, now 80 plus events throughout the country. What do you think's been the secret to that growth? And where are some locations that you love going to, some ones that are kind of on the docket right here? What's that been like?
Yep. So Prospect Select started like whenever I was recruiting it as a college coach, like I mentioned, it really started out. To be honest, Aaron started it. Him and AJ started it with very little money. They just had a little bit of leftover money. They put it into the business, and they put together like they were fortunate because Aaron coached with an organization called the Florida Bombers. And the Florida Bombers were for a spell, they were the number one ranked team in the country, like Perfect Game and the major players and whatnot. They would go to those events. They were the number one ranked team in the country. They had Aaron was taking a lead role in recruitment and building those teams. So he kind of built a network in South Florida, and Aaron was a high level player too. So he already had a lot of inroads there, and he was able to build this powerhouse organization. So whenever he got into the tournament showcase side, he already had at his disposal the connections of some of these high level kids, like your Manny Machados, your Addison Russells, your Vogelbachs, and like these guys that were no doubt draft guys. So he built this small event, and people like myself would come to it, and we were just blown away at the talent. So these high level events that he was putting on, he was able to kind of just organically build off of them. That's pretty much been, like I said, the whole story of PS. Like Prospect Select, the keynote events for the company are what we call our classics. So we have the Palm Beach Classic, we have the Black Bear Classic, and we have the Boston Classic. Those are kind of like our keynote events that most people in the country who know of us, they've played in those events, and maybe yearly they still play in them. Each of them has over 250 teams annually. Our Boston event has really emerged as like a heavy, heavy, heavy hitter in the Northeast. I would really put that event up there with about any in the country as far as just quality of the quality of the scouting presence at that event. It's very, very high level. Like so many scouts come to the Boston Open. The Palm Beach Classic is very well scouted down in South Florida. And then in the Carolinas, you kind of have that mid-Atlantic, like Carolinas, really good event for your middle tier like Division I player, like your Winthrops, like where I went, your High Points, your Wofford, Upstates, like all those schools, your good D2s and NAIAs in the area. So we've just kind of grown. We've always kind of done it. We've always kind of referred to ourselves. I know you did mention we have a lot of events, but we've always referred to ourselves as we try to be like a high level boutique. Like for tournaments, we don't want to have so many events in certain areas where it oversaturates the market, but we want to have enough to have like a presence there. and have good events, and really try to have like destination events for areas.
And how do you guys select those events? I mean, you named obviously the big three, but when you're looking at potential new areas or places to place one, what are the key components of that?
A lot of it's relationship driven. Like let's just say that Jeremy Plexico and Nelson Gord used to be coaching friends, and now Nelson now all of a sudden takes a job, and all of a sudden Nelson's got a complex in the middle of Texas. You know what I mean? And Nelson reaches out and he's got an opportunity. That sounds very whatever, but that's the way it works. Like most of our relationships, most of the teams that we get, I mean, a lot of them have relationships with us, and they know us from playing. They know us from maybe we did them a favor 10 years ago and got one of their kids in a showcase, and then that kid got an opportunity to play in college. And now they just kind of feel grateful for that, and they continue to come to our events. But it's all just very it's just very, once again, organic. Obviously, like certain cities are no brainers. You know what I mean? Like if you can get certain events in cities that have like a high volume of travel teams, they're just in areas that are easy to get in and out of. Maybe you got like a good airport. It's 5 minutes from the airport. Just some things are obvious, you know what I mean? But most of the time it takes a relationship to get somewhere, because there's so many different companies that are putting on tournaments and whatnot. So just the field space is such a competitive market now, just being able to get field space.
Sure. And just thinking about like the global impact, I mean, 1,600 plus or minus colleges out there. Not every coach can be in every location, and tying that in with a very impactful thing in the world, but also like our industry, 2020 and COVID, you guys really made a push to go even more digital and the introduction of player profiles and scouting dashboards. Can you talk about the evolution of that and what you guys have been doing on that end of things?
Yeah, that's been a lot. That's been a huge focus, and the company, or the world, I should say, would still be like still. I always still kind of say we're on the beta side of our profile launch, because Billy at Playbook, who I think he's the best. Like I think he's like the GOAT. Like he's got such a good thing going with his business, and he honestly, he just takes the time to have personal calls with me and Brando, anybody in the business that needs them. But we get on every so often with Billy, and we just really look at what's going on with our profiles and how we can improve them. And we don't have a finished product yet. It's always like a living, breathing profile system that we have. Going into summer 25, it's drastically better than it was in 24, and I think it's going to continue to be that way each year. We're adding new components to it. We're trying to make it where when kids and when athletes come to our events, we give them a value add. Whether they decide they want to purchase a profile and pay a premium for the highest level, or if they just want to come to our events, be a rostered player and get certain things that come with being in our tournaments, either is fine. They have that. We just feel like it's a big value add, you know what I mean, for them to be able to participate in our events and get that. Give me 1 second, Nelson. Sorry, had
All
to
good.
had to help my 4-year-old. She's had a question.
Yes.
But yeah, like the profile piece and the digital piece, like that's just huge. We really do sincerely want it to be like a thing where we don't want families and parents to feel like we're getting over on them. We really do want to have a profile piece that we feel like is a value add. And I really do like what we have going on with our profiles, with our data, with our video capture, and some of the different things we have going. So I'm really, really excited about it. And then on the coach dashboard side, we're trying to do stuff on that side where college coaches and scouts, I kind of put that hat on and try to think back as a college coach. I was a Division I recruiting coordinator for 4 years, and you got to make decisions on where you are, where you're going. You plan the tournament, you plan the summer recruiting schedule out, the fall out, and you want to have a way to link it all to where you can, like when you're in the office, you and your staff can go to a certain spot and look and evaluate talent. And we're trying to become a valuable piece of that for a lot of colleges. And we are getting it. We're getting in there. We're starting to get more and more colleges that are going and getting on our platform. Our platform for colleges is free right now. So the biggest thing for us is we want to get the colleges in there. We're not trying to profit on them. We just want to get them in there because we know that when the colleges are there, it's going to be more valuable for the athletes. So kind of a long answer, but that the profile piece is so exciting because it's just, once again, it's just always evolving.
And you mentioned before, like the video partners you have and the different data pieces. Who are some of those partners that you work with, and how are those integrated with the profiles and in the recruiting process? And how would you prioritize those?
So our main partner in this whole space is FlightScope. So FlightScope is our data collection partner. A lot of people have heard of like some of the other different data collection companies, but I would put FlightScope up there with any of them. there's some beautiful pieces to the flight scope units and that's one reason that we go with them. We've been working with them and we've created a good relationship with their team. We've been working with them since pre-COVID. I want to say probably 2018, maybe late 2017, 2018. But we started having conversations with them, and then COVID hit. We kind of it was a time where you knew you had to get involved with the data and that side of things with less people being out, but still it kind of also slowed it down because you couldn't be meeting with them and doing as much. It was just like a crazy time, as everybody knows. So it kind of slowed down our rollout of profiles. But a key piece to our profiles is that data. And a key piece to it is we get game data. So a lot of times when you're looking at stuff, you only get the showcase side. And the showcase side is valuable. We certainly collect it. And we think it's a valuable piece, but we love the game piece. And as a former college coach, like if I could look at Jeremy Plexico, the athlete, know that I like him because I've seen him in a showcase. I do like him and I want to see him more, but I do want to see how it translates to gameplay, which obviously I think anybody would tell you is the most important piece. I want to go see him in a game, and then I'd love to see the game numbers. So the flight scope units are mobile, and they give you a lot of options where you don't have to have them like professionally mounted. You can take them on tripods and get them up in a variety of settings and different stadiums. So that's a huge reason as to why we go with FlightScope. As far as our video partner, I mean, honestly, our video partner is Playbook. I mean, we do stream, but as far as like our video capture for our profiles, it's Playbook. I mean, Billy has a system in place with us, which obviously is kind of the way that he does it. I don't want to necessarily tell the world, but he's got a system in place for us where it's amazing, where we can take video and we can have it land on profiles. So it's not just like going to Twitter for a day and then everybody forgets about it. You know what I mean? We actually have it where we capture game highlights and they land on profiles, and it's just a great value add for our profiles. You know what I mean? And once again, to be able to go there and see a lot of game clips of what Jeremy Plexico, the athlete, did live.
Absolutely. And with that, I mean, with the data, with the video, have you guys had to staff up at each event, or do you find creative ways to kind of accomplish the same thing with limited staff?
Yeah,
What's your setup look like?
it's both. It's both. We do have to get creative. Like we'll kind of throw like some ideas out there and try to figure out ways to not have the numbers. But the biggest thing that we've done to answer your question is we have had to invest heavily into manpower and getting people on site at fields and getting scouts out there to capture what we need. It's your standard thing that you're doing with any business. You're creating protocols, you're creating plans and procedures to capture the data, and you're putting a team out there to do it. But you can imagine like it's a challenge. And a lot of times when we're doing these events, we're doing it with independent contractors that you may or may not have a ton of time with. But you got to kind of get in there and rally and teach these guys and girls what you need and hold them accountable and figure out systems and plans to check and make sure they get it. Just the normal stuff. But it is certainly it's one of our bigger investments in our tournaments. And that's whenever you're setting your pricing and stuff like that, we would all like to run really really inexpensive tournaments out there, but that's one of the pieces. Like whenever we're trying to capture all this stuff, it's a big piece. It costs a lot just having the bodies out there to get it, so that's obviously a huge expense for us in our events. I can hear you now.
Oh, give me a second. Let me stop the recording and restart it. It says it's having an issue
No problem.
recording. Hold on.
No problem.
So, and again, these numbers, they're on the website, and some of them are used for marketing. And, I read a number somewhere that 3,000 plus players have committed after playing in a prospect select event. That could be give or take hundreds or thousands or whatever the case may be. But I'm not talking about the mass numbers of any stories from any of your events or showcases that really stick out. It's just a really cool story of a kid that maybe was flying under the radar, really, could use the help that your event made an impact on.
Man, that's tough. I have one kid in mind, and he may not even see it this way. Like he may not have ever even thought about it this way, but we always tell the story. So whenever we had that event, we used to call it Tops. It was it wasn't after the baseball card. A lot of people thought it was. It was Aaron named it Tops, Tournament of Professional Prospects. So that's what we used to call like our high level showcase. It was kind of like, it wasn't really an all American game, but it was like our version of our best event. It was our best event. And we would always do it the day before the Palm Beach Classic. So down here in South Florida, you can imagine, I mean, we would have 250 teams coming to that event yearly. Most of your heavy hitter teams in Florida are there. Like, so you've got a really good year in and year out group of talent. So we have one in the fall, and it was called Tops Jupiter. So we would always, you know how it is, you'd always have families and stuff call you. So this sweetheart of a mom called me and said, "Hey, like, I was told, you know, kind of shy and whatnot on the phone. I was told to call you. I have a son who's a fit for Tops." And I'd say, "Okay, well, tell me a little bit about him." "Well, he's, you know, he's a really good left-handed pitcher. He throws pretty hard, and blah, blah, blah." I can't remember what she said, maybe like 87, 88. I mean, now everybody throws hard, but like back then, I mean, an upper 80s lefty, you know, I think he was a sophomore. So I think he was that fall, he was going to be, he might have been a junior. So he at least had 2 more years of high school, 2 more seasons of high school. And so I said, "Ma'am, I really appreciate the call, but just to be really honest, like, you're his mom. So I know you're going to speak highly of him." And I was really nice to her, of course, because she was so nice too. But I said, "Can you do me a favor and just put me in touch with a scout? Like, so I need to be put in touch with somebody about him." So like not too long after, I get a call from this guy, and he said, "Hey, I got this kid. We've been kind of hiding him. You know, he hadn't been on the circuit." So I said, it just still seemed weird. So we called a couple college coaches, and they confirmed that they had seen him. He had just been out in an event or two, and yeah, you need to take him. Like, we saw him up to 87. So we go to the event, and we're in like the seventh inning, I think, at this event. Like, we didn't have him like at a prime spot. Like, he was kind of towards the end. And this dude, like, Nelson comes out. This dude's like 6'4". I mean, he was probably 215, you know, big, strong kid. He's playing catch on the mound at 94 and warming up. Like, he's on the mound, like, kind of like crow hopping real loose, but not really pitching, just like getting it loose. And I turn around and look up at Aaron, and his eyes are as big, and mine are, and this kid's name was Sean. I think his name was Sean Eder. He went to Vandy. Let me look it up. Sean Eder, Sean Eder. Let me see. Am I thinking about the right kid? That's the kid I recruited. I'm sorry. Eder was a kid. Sean Eder was a kid I recruited at Ball State. What is this kid's name? Jake Eder, maybe?
There's too many kids playing catch at 94, I guess.
Let's see. It was Jake. It was Jake Eder. Jake Eder or Jake Eder. So it's pretty right. He was 6'4", 210. Let me see. What is he doing right now? He's probably playing. Let's see. Where is he right now? And he's playing minor league baseball. It looks like it looks like he might have had one game in the big leagues. Might have had a
Holy
call up.
smokes.
Yeah, but this kid, but you know, I mean, there's and what I was saying, what's funny is if you talk to Jake, he may not even remember the story that way. I don't know, but I just remember it was just funny because you get so many people as a recruiting coordinator in college, and then as somebody who's putting on events, like it's a compliment when you have people wanting to be in your events and whatnot. So they start calling, and you just never know what to think, man. Because obviously, if you're a coach or if you're a parent, you want to do right by the player. And until like, there's normally what I've learned, there's normally two types of coaches. There's the coach who is like the big overseller. And then there's most of well, I guess there's three. There's like the overseller. There's the one who's like brutally honest, like to a fault. And then there's the one who's kind of just like dead on. I've always liked the ones who are just kind of like, just dead on, just like, "Hey man, you may be at Ball State, you may be at Young Harris." That was the first school that I coached at JUCO, Young Harris. It's like, "Hey, I'm just going to tell you, here's my players. These are my best players. They're playing on this game. These 7 guys are uncommitted. These are college players. Go get them." What would always annoy me is like when the coach would be like, he would like tell me who's my guys. Like, "I got these 7, like these 5 are too good for you. These 2 are yours." You know what I mean? You go watch them and you're like, "Well, I like the other 5, you know?" Like,
Yeah, right.
but that's just human nature, you know what I mean? But yeah, that was interesting. And to your point, like, I couldn't tell you how many kids, because the 3,000 may just be from the, you know, we just started working with Playbook. I think this is maybe like year 3 or 4 with Playbook. I wish it was like year 12 with Playbook. I don't even know when Playbook started, but if I had to do it over, we would never operate without Playbook. But um prior to that, you know what I mean, we had a lot of kids. And then like now, I think the way the system's set up, you know, you would know better than me, but I think it's like just the rostered players who fill their stuff in. So imagine
Mhm.
how many players we have that they're going to such and such school, and they just didn't fill their profile in correctly. You know what I mean? There's so many kids, and that's the beautiful part. The beautiful part about doing it is you'll have these events, and you'll see the coaches, and they'll be like, "Yeah, man, you didn't know, like, he committed to Gardner Webb out of the Black Bear tournament. Like, he pitched on campus for them, and he committed there." Like, so like stuff like that's amazing. That's what makes you feel great about doing this job, you know?
Sure. And when you're talking through that, when you're saying about, hey, these 5 guys are for you, or these 2 guys are a little above you, or whatever. I had a great conversation a few years back with Sean McDermott, who you know, from UIC, who was one of my coaches. And I was getting frustrated because I see these kids commit, and I'd be like, not to UIC, but to other places. And, some pretty high profile schools, and I'd be like, how the heck? Like, I know for sure our two middles are better than that kid. We got two or three armors better than this guy. And, we had a streak where we had two or three time Division II national home run champion, a bunch of D3 All Americans, and sent some kids Division I as well. And I'm like, because I'm not blowing smoke and overhyping kids, they don't get the same love. And Max said something really, impactful. He's like, listen, he's like, if you're upset because they go there and have success and they're in the right place and they're earning awards and they're getting degrees, that's nothing to hang your head about. They could have went to other places, sure, but if anybody's going to be upset about being an All-American somewhere, then that's a whole different conversation.
Right.
So
Right.
there's the right place for everyone, and I think that's a cool thing. Is like you said, the profiles give more exposure to a lot of those kids, where not every school has any sort of recruiting money. I know I was coaching at a college that we had a $0 recruiting budget, so you had to get not just creative, you had to borrow passwords and ask everybody under the sun for advice on who to go after.
Yeah, I remember
So
when I was at Young Harris, my first job. We were a JUCO, and they were transitioning to. They're a good Division II now. I think they're in the Peach Belt Conference. Coach Rick Robinson, who most people in the baseball world know, he's a kind of a legendary coach. But I remember we'd be young coaches and stuff, and we'd be in their office calling and stuff, and we'd come in the next day, be like, Jeremy Plexico, he recruited the guy we've been on, he's on our recruiting board. He committed to school X, and he'd be like, good, good. I knew he'd go there, good. And I just, of course he did. Of course he knew he was going there, and like, why do we spin our wheels if you know what I mean? But it's that same
mhm,
thing. It's like, hey, that's where he wanted to go. Like, good for him. That's awesome. But he obviously didn't want to be here with us. I'm not going to lose sleep over moving him, losing him. Like he went to somewhere that was a fit for him, and now we're gonna go get the next guy. But
sure,
when
a
you're in
lot of
the
fish in the sea.
trenches recruiting them, you don't take it the same. You're like, so deflated.
Absolutely, and probably when you're in your 20s compared to in retrospect now, you see it a little bit different as well.
Yep, yep.
So just again, keeping your college coaching hat on, what are some of the biggest misconceptions that the parents and players have about the process in general?
About the college, about like kids going through the recruiting process and chasing their college dreams and whatnot. Man, that's tough. It's changed. It's continuing to change, Nelson. And I'll be honest, like I talk about this all the time. So I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good at having like recruiting talks. Like that's kind of a thing that I've always done. The coach that I worked for at Young Harris, he taught me that kind of indirectly. I saw him and he did a great job with it. So I was really good at like leading parents and players and travel coaches through like recruiting seminars and stuff like that. And I still think I could do a pretty good job. I would just have to get in there and really brush up on the current rules because they have changed over the last, even from year to year. But I would always have like a handful of things I would tell them. I think that there's a way you can recruit. You can kind of be your own recruiting coordinator. You can kind of recruit. You can kind of be the person that's leading your own recruiting efforts. I don't think it has to be overly complicated. I really don't. I think that parents should be involved in the process for sure, but I think the athletes need to be the ones that are leading the way on communication. I mean, I would consider you industry standard. I mean, like you know the space better than me. But like I would always tell the kids, like I really, really think it's valuable for you to be the one communicating with the coach. And as a coach, I wanted to gain a rapport with the player. And once again, I'm not trying to do it to keep the parents in the dark, but when the parent sends the email talking about the kid, like once again, man, that's your kid. Like you love that kid, and you're gonna, you'll kind of maybe inflate a little bit what should be said. And as a coach, you're trying to learn about that kid. So I want to, frankly, a lot of times, like when the parents do it, it's a detriment to the kid because sometimes not only will the parents kind of oversell the kid, a lot of coaches flat out just don't want to deal with parents, and like I do think that parents should continue to be great parents and know what their kids are doing. And like if you're an active parent, like continue to be active and like be there and know what your kids are doing. But just try to have a little bit of feel and not let them be the one communicating. Let them be the ones that are when you're going to talk to the coaches and stuff, let them go and shake the coach's hand first and like kind of just step back and let them communicate. I think that to me, that'd be a huge piece. I do think that like profiles are important. I don't think that kids need 12 of them. I don't think that parents should be spending crazy, crazy amounts on profiles. I think that profiles are important. we sell profiles, and I think our profiles are a valuable tool. I think that other companies' profiles are a valuable tool. I don't think you need 8 of them, and I don't think you need to be like sacrificing crazy things for your family, to have profiles. I do think it's nice to have them, and it's a really good piece of your recruiting toolbox to have a validated source of data. You know what I'm saying? So, like,
Yes.
if I'm Jeremy Plexico, the player, and I'm reaching out to a coach, I would recommend, for me as a coach, what I wanted a short communication from the player that was real, not copied and pasted, just like a real talk. Like, I would rather see like, just preferably not like texting talk, you know what I mean? But like somewhat, it doesn't have to be like formal. Like, you don't need to go into like Chat GPT. I'll be honest with me, I don't like that. Like, I don't want to hear from the robot. I want to hear from Jeremy Plexico, the athlete who truly wants to come to whatever school I'm at. Like, hey, Coach Plexico. My name is Billy. I am just give a quick description of yourself. I'm a 2027 left-handed pitcher. I have a ton of interest in attending X school, and I'd love the chance to get in front of your staff. I'm going to be playing at this event in 3 or 4 weeks in your area. As we get closer, I'll send you my schedule. You know what I mean? Like, see attached below, and you maybe you copy and paste the link to your profile that's from a Prospect Select account, or it could be from another company. But here's a link to my profile. Here's a link to some video. You can kind of here's a short read, and here's a link to some of my stuff, and you can check it out on your own. I think that most families probably have the means to do something like that. You know what I mean? That's what I would recommend as far as like how to kind of like market yourself. The obvious things, the grades and the, handling yourself and social and stuff like that, handling yourself in a good way. That's all obvious. Another thing that I would say is like, don't get caught up too much in what your teammates and like the best player in your area is doing. They're not always the correct measuring stick for you. You know what I mean? I think that that's leveled out a little bit because kids are not committing early. I mean, I'm sure there's some that are like, but as a rule, they're not really committing early now. So a couple of years ago, whenever I was recruiting, you would have kids committing as freshmen and even eighth graders, sophomore. So you would have the tendency as a player to compare yourself to those kids and those families, and it wasn't always a fair comparison, just because some of those kids are maybe they're committing too early, and some of those kids, frankly, are probably just exceptional, and they may not be exceptional in 4 years. Maybe you will as a college junior. Like, that was my story. Like, my story was I was a good player, but I didn't know what the heck was going on. I got to college and got a lot better. And I would say at South Carolina early in my career, I was one of the lower players on the team. And then when I left college, I was one of the best players. Now, granted, I transferred to Winthrop, but we were a fringe top 25 team. I mean, we were a good team. And I would say I left college as an All-American. The first couple of years, I couldn't even get on the field. So I got a lot better. I just matured a lot later. I think that parents and families kind of get in trouble when they're always comparing themselves against a teammate of theirs. It's not always the same. It's normally not.
It's fun now that I'm coaching my son's team, and we have a group of little 10U knuckleheads, and just knowing kind of what I've seen over the years, giving lessons, working with players, coaching at different levels, you kind of see certain patterns, right? You see these kids sprout up pretty quickly, and they're all everybody talks about, but you also kind of see the writing on the wall. They're not going to continue on that development trend. They're not going to be 7'6".
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
things can and definitely will change. And then the other part of that, just talking about the communication piece. We had the opportunity over spring break here a couple weeks back to take my daughter on some college visits. She's only a sophomore. She wants to dance. And while we're driving the car, I said, hey, like, here's the deal. If you really want to do this, it's not just about the campus tours and not just about, doing a dance clinic or whatever. I'm like, go on their Instagram, go to the website, get the coach's email, and just be like, hey, I'm coming to visit, and it'd be really cool if I could meet you or some of the other girls on the team. And I'm telling you, it's going to go a long ways, because there's not too many sophomores that are doing that right now. And sure enough, a couple of the coaches got back to her, had the chance to meet them, tour the facilities. And it was just because she sent a short note. And I got my wife that's trying to like edit her note. And I'm like, no, like, make it be from her. Make it be her way.
I agree. I would always like, even if the kids were not really kids that I had on my radar to recruit, I would still like, if somebody reached out to me and I knew I was going to an event, I would like have that kid's name down.
Yeah.
Just because sometimes I would go to an event and not really have like a set schedule. I would just know that I'm gonna be camping out at this complex all day. So like if Jeremy Plexico reached out to me and I'm like, I got a time slot that's open. Oh, there's Jeremy. Like I'm gonna go watch him. Like he may not be a kid for us, but I want to go see him. Like he reached out to me. I'm gonna go like at least catch an at bat or two. Maybe he's on the mound and I can go see or two or three batters. You know, like it's you can't hurt yourself by reaching out. Like if you just show sincere interest. Like you
And
know,
that's good too when you're talking to a buddy of yours that coaches at a smaller school or a larger
sure,
school, right?
sure.
Depending on where you're at. Like
Yep,
you may refer him over, like, hey, we're
of
looking
course.
for a guy that left-handed bat that, catches, and you're like, oh, like, this kid might not be a good
Yep.
fit for us, but you might want to take a look
That happens all the time. That's
all
a
the
great
time.
thing that she said. That's probably one of like the things that happens like college coaches, like because most of the time like you're going head to head with people, but a lot of times like you're not. I don't think baseball is the same as it is in like basketball and football, where it's like
Right.
I'm down to my top 10 and all this. I think a lot of times in baseball, like kids are they probably have like a pretty good idea of between a handful of schools they're going to. So like, I'm at school X and I'm watching this kid and he's really good. I kind of know he's not coming to me. So then the next day I go to a high level. I talk to a buddy of mine who's at a high level school and I'm like, well, dude, I just saw this arm that was 90. That happens
Yeah,
all the time.
for sure. We're gonna jump here. We're gonna go from the college recruiting thing over to professional baseball.
All right.
All right. And you spent some time in pro ball. What lessons from going through that experience do you still take with you today, or even some funny stories? We could talk about playing the game itself, but minor league baseball specifically has its own kind of subculture.
Yeah.
Anything you want to talk about there for this audience, for the
Yeah, for
PG
this
13?
audience, I have so many stories from minor league baseball that are just like I don't even know that I have them. And then somebody will bring up an instance, and like it just brings that story back. Like there's so many minor league baseball. I always try to describe it to people. It's just so hard to describe, and it's different now. I feel like they've done so many advancements in a positive way for the game on the minor league side. I feel like those guys are staying in probably better hotels and probably eating better and doing stuff like that. I mean, I remember the first game, the first series I ever played with the Vermont Expos. That was the team I was on, and we went to play in Oneonta. We were playing the Tigers and the New York Penn League. I mean, the first place we went to, I mean, it was an old like field.
Yep.
The center fielder ran to the wall in center field, like you could only see his head. Like the field went down. I mean, you're showering in like the old Bull Durham shower where it's the center console
Yep.
and it circles around. You're staying in a hotel where they had a key, like not a swipe. Like minor league. What the minor leagues does though, man, is it weeds out the people who are serious about baseball. Like there's so much talent in minor league baseball, and I always tell people there's as much or more talent in minor league baseball at times than there is at times on the big league field. Like, granted, you've got your high end performers in the big leagues, and they're the best in the world. Nobody can dispute it. But there's a lot of people on big league rosters that your average person who doesn't follow baseball, you don't really know who they are and whatnot. They're still amazing players. But a lot of those guys are in the big leagues because they have the ability to repeat and get a result over and over, which obviously is very valuable. But if you just put them on the field next to somebody and said, "Hey, show me tools," like the minor leagues will blow your mind. Like you'll just be sitting there, like you'll be watching BP and these kids and they're hitting and like the tools that are in the minor leagues are just off the charts. And it's exciting. It's fun to be a part of. A lot of those guys may not really understand until they get there, like how much of a grind it is. You know what I mean? And they don't last. I remember it was funny. Like I'll tell the story. I'm not going to say the names and stuff, but I was with the obviously the Expos. This time we were the Nationals, and we had they had kangaroo court, so I was doing rehab, and we had some big leaguers there, kind of some salty big leaguers who were not the happiest to be down there in rehab, and so they were there with all the rookie ball, the whole rookie ball crop just got drafted, so they're all there. It's like middle of the summer, right after the draft. So we had this kid, and he was a pretty talented kid, and it was a day game, as all those games are. It was like your rookie ball day game, 1 o'clock. So they're out there on the field at 7, going through the whole morning routine. Back in the day with the Nationals / Expos, our lunch was a 6-inch Subway sub and a bowl of like chicken noodle soup, which was basically broth, maybe a bag of chips. It was like unbelievable, like what we ate. So then you're eating that outside, it's 100 degrees, it's noon, and then the game's at 1. So this kid gets hot. He's about to start the game. the only people there are like the teams, and then like 2 or 3 people in the stands, like families, So this guy gets warm. He's about to start the game, goes to the dugout, takes a sip of water, then walks behind the field to the home plate, to the bleachers behind home plate. This is his girlfriend, and then trots back out to the mound to make a start. So we go into Kangaroo Court. We go into Kangaroo Court the next day, a couple days later, and they called this kid name out, and they called him out on it, and he's just like, he's kind of like a shy kid, and like, so one of the big leaguers, and he was like a known name, like he wasn't like a crazy all-star type name, but he y'all would know who I was talking about. He comes out, he had a blow up doll of a girl, so he had a blow up doll. And the rest of the week, this guy's punishment was everywhere he went on the field,
To
he
bring it
had
with.
to have this blow up doll underneath his arm running around. So the stuff like that, like that's just a story that I just thought of like right now. But like there's all kind of stories. Like I remember we were playing the day game, and I do have to be off by 3, Nelson. I apologize.
Yeah, no, you're good.
We had a day game, and I think it was somewhere that was 1,000,000 degrees. I want to say it was Rome, Georgia, but I can't remember exactly. But we had a day game, and those are already kind of hard because at most of the day games in the minor leagues, most of those day games you have like daycare and like summer.
Mhm.
So you
Yeah,
have like
camp days.
you'll have like 2,500 people
Yep.
there, and 1,800 of them are kids.
Yep. With different colored T-shirts all over the place. Yep.
So you'll be in the bullpen. I was always a bullpen guy. So you're in the bullpen, and all 1,800 kids want baseballs. So we had this coach named Ricky Bonus, who was just prominent big leaguer. He coached forever in the big leagues as a pitching coach, like a bullpen coach. He may still be. But anyway, Ricky's like, hey, don't give any balls away today unless you get something back. So we're like, all right. So about the third inning, this kid comes over, ball. So one of our salty, like 27, 28-year-old, like 10-year-old minor league guys is like, hey, tell your mom, bring us a lemon chill, and we'll trade you a baseball for a lemon chill. And those lemon chills aren't cheap. I mean, this was back in the day. They were like $5 or $6.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
I can't imagine what they cost now. They're probably 15, $20. So the kid comes back, lemon chill, baseball. It might have been a sign ball, something like that. Inning or two later, same thing. Another kid comes down, lemon chill, baseball. We get to be in about the 7th or 8th inning. Kids start coming down with lemon chills. And we're like, guys, no more. Like we got a couple. Like we only have like 8 balls. Like we can't
I was gonna say no más pelotas. The sock is empty.
Yeah, no more. So then all of a sudden the moms start coming down. Like, how dare you? Like we went and spent money on the lemon chill, and we were told we were getting a baseball and just stuff, man. I can't. Like I said, I can't. We had one more quick story. We had this. They had this game where this was when I was in Harrisburg in AA. We had these guys, same thing, like 30, 32-year-old guys had been in AA for a while, like salty guys. They said, guys, here's what we're going to do. Because you would sit down and there would be steps above you, and these kids would stand there. So what they did is they got a cup, and they asked the kid, they said, if you can throw a quarter in this cup, we'll give you something. Bat, ball. So they go, guys, the first cup we're going to put real close. So somebody got it pretty quick. So then they started inching it back. And we had a group back, a huddle of people behind us and parents. We have a guy sitting there working the money. He was doing 5 quarters for $1. I mean, every now and then somebody would get something, you know what I mean? But I mean, like they got enough money to throw it on like blackjack or roulette. Whenever we went to town, they had roulette. So it was like I said, man, it's stories for days. I would, as everybody else in the minor leagues, I'd love to write a book. I mean, I played 6 years of minor league ball, so I played enough to really get a taste of it, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. I wish I would have obviously made the big leagues and stuck around up there, but my minor league days were great. I still have tons of relationships from there.
Absolutely. And I know you got to go here in a couple minutes. Just to close this out, and you've already touched on it a little bit about, the talent and just the awesome dude that Billy is and some of the Playbook features. But is there anything else that you'd like to add about using Playbook 365 and how it's, helped and augmented the business or for people looking to potentially try it out?
I mean, honestly, man, if you're putting on events and I'm sure I can't really speak on events that are non-baseball. I'm sure that they're out there for Billy. I don't know enough about that side, but what I know about is baseball. Like that's what I've done my whole life. Like if you're in the baseball space, it's not even a sell for me. It's just so obvious, like what he's doing, what the whole Playbook team is doing. They make it the user experience for the provider and the customer. And then now with the profiles and stuff for the college coaches, it all works together. It all talks to each other. I can't give it more of a recommendation. And then like the thing is, like as big as Playbook is getting, the team that y'all have, very personable, weekday, that staff that you reach out to on the back end. I mean, we're trying to figure out on our company how to copy that. Those guys are absolute studs. Like you become friends with like the customer service team. And then, like I said, I called him earlier. Like you got the goat, like Billy. Billy's steering the ship with the design, and he'll do anything within reason. Like, and he'll just tell you sometimes, like, hey man, like I want to do that for you. We kind of that's coming, but let's
Right.
do this
Just
first,
not
and
right
he'll
now.
figure out. Yeah, not right now. But 99 times out of 100, like even if he's like, ooh, that's tough, he said, let me think on it and I'll get back to you. And he always does, and he always tries. So I couldn't say give a higher recommendation about Playbook. Like, I don't see us ever even thinking remotely about doing anything different. It's connected all the dots for us is what it's done. It's been a fully integrated setup.
I appreciate that, and I know Billy will once he
Yeah,
hears it, because probably doesn't hear it enough, but it's definitely well deserved. But thank you for taking the time today and telling us all the things that you did, from
no
the
problem.
college recruiting to prospect select to the minor league baseball stuff and everything in between.
No problem, man. I'll be happy to, if you ever, the minor league side, I love talking about all this, but like the minor league side, give me again one day and we can have like some, give me a couple other minor leaguers and we can start telling some stories, but it's something. But no, I'm honored, man. I'm honored to be on with you. Thank you. I know you got a great thing going, and I hope that y'all have a lot of continued success with Playbook, and I know you will. But thanks for having me on, man.
Appreciate it. Talk soon, Jeremy. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you, man.